The Galactic Council had gathered in emergency session for the third time in as many cycles. The massive crystalline chamber that housed their deliberations hummed with the nervous energy of 1,000 different species, each contributing their own unique form of anxiety to the collective dread that permeated the space. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthak hegemony raised his 6 arms in the traditional gesture of grave concern. His species had ruled the Outer Rim for millennia, their technological prowess unmatched by any civilization, until now. "The readings are unmistakable," he announced, his voice carrying the weight of impending doom. "The silence approaches. Our greatest sensor arrays detect nothing but the absence of everything. No electromagnetic signatures, no quantum fluctuations, no life. It consumes entire star systems, leaving not even memory behind." A collective shudder ran through the assembly. The Cathari delegation, beings of pure energy who had transcended physical form eons ago, flickered with distress. The proud warrior race of Mandorian apex, who had never known defeat in 10,000 years of conquest, sat with their heads bowed in resignation. "Our ancestors spoke of this in the oldest texts," whispered Elder Earmoth of the Archive Keepers. The silence, the end of all songs, the final quiet that precedes the heat death of possibility itself. No weapon can touch it, no shield can stop it, it simply erases. "Then we evacuate," suggested General Corthex of the Stellar Defense Force. "We gather what we can and flee to the far reaches." "To where?" Zethkar's laugh was bitter. "It moves faster than our fastest ships. It consumes space itself. There is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. In 17 standard cycles, it will reach the core worlds. In 23, it will have consumed everything." The chamber fell silent except for the mournful harmonics of grief that emanated from various species. Some wept in frequencies beyond human hearing. Others simply began preparing for the end. It was then that the newest member of the council requested permission to speak. "The floor recognizes Ambassador Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation," Zethkar announced, his tone carrying barely concealed condescension. Humanity had been granted membership only recently, and many still considered them little more than clever animals who had stumbled upon space travel. Sarah stood, her small frame dwarfed by the towering beings around her. She wore simple clothes, not the ceremonial armor or biosuits of other species, just a blue dress and a peculiar wooden instrument strapped to her back. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to propose. "My species has encountered something similar to your silence before." A ripple of skeptical murmurs passed through the assembly. The humans had existed in space for barely 2 centuries. What could they possibly know of cosmic-level threats? "We called it the Great Sadness," Sarah continued. "Not a physical entity, but something that crept into communities, into hearts, into the very fabric of hope itself. It left people hollow, empty, unable to remember why existence mattered. Entire cities fell to it. Millions simply stopped." "And how," Zethkar asked with obvious skepticism, "did your primitive species combat something that we, with all our advanced technology and ancient wisdom, cannot even comprehend?" Sarah smiled, and there was something in that expression that made even the most cynical delegates lean forward. "We sang." The silence that followed was deafening. "I beg your pardon?" Elder Yermoth's ancient voice crackled with confusion. "We sang," Sarah repeated. "Music has power, not the kind you can measure with instruments or calculate with equations. It's the power of shared experience, of defiance in the face of meaninglessness, of declaring that existence has rhythm and melody and worth." She unslung the guitar from her back, a primitive stringed instrument that looked absurdly simple compared to the quantum harmonizers and neural symphony generators used by more advanced species. "My great-great-grandmother fought the great sadness with nothing but her voice and a guitar like this one. She stood in town squares and sang songs of memory, of love, of stubborn human refusal to give in to despair. Others joined her. The song spread faster than the sadness could consume them. General Corthex's mandibles clicked dismissively. You propose to defeat a cosmic force that erases matter itself, with music? I propose, Sarah said, strumming, a single clear note that somehow seemed to resonate through the entire crystalline chamber. That we remind the universe why it chose to exist in the first place. She began to play, a simple melody, nothing that would impress the sophisticated musical theorists of the Harmonious Collective or the reality-bending sound sculptors of Nexus Prime. But something about it. The notes seemed to carry weight, substance, meaning. They spoke of small blue worlds spinning around ordinary stars, of creatures who built fires against the dark and told stories to their children. They spoke of love that persisted despite mortality, of hope that endured, despite evidence of laughter that arose from the sheer absurdity of consciousness contemplating itself. One by one, other voices joined in. The Vorthak began adding their harmonic overtones. The energy beings of Kethari pulsed in rhythm. Even the stoic Mandorians found themselves humming along to this strange, primitive, impossible song. And in the space between notes, in the silence that gave the music meaning, something shifted. The readings from their sensors began to change. The approaching void hesitated. Impossible, breathed Zethkar, staring at his instruments. The silence. It's slowing. Sarah kept playing, her voice now joined by 1,000 others, each species adding their own interpretation to the growing symphony. The song wasn't complex or technologically advanced. It was simply, stubbornly, defiantly, alive. You see, Sarah said between verses, her words carrying across the cosmic distances through quantum entanglement arrays and consciousness-bridging networks. The silence isn't our enemy. It's just forgotten what noise sounds like, what meaning sounds like, what hope sounds like. The song grew stronger, spreading from world to world, from species to species, until the entire galaxy rang with the sound of civilizations choosing existence over entropy, melody over silence, together over alone. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, the silence heard the music and remembered what it had been before it became nothing, remembered why the first atoms had chosen to dance together instead of drifting apart. For the first time in eons, the silence began to sing back. When historians of a dozen species later recorded this moment, they would struggle to explain how primitive human music had accomplished what all their advanced technology could not. But perhaps that was the point. Perhaps the most sophisticated response to cosmic despair was simply to pick up an instrument, open one's heart, and remind the universe that it was not alone. The stars themselves seemed to hum a little brighter after that day. And in the depths of space where silence had once reigned, there was always music.